Heyo, hi, hello. I'm Ghosty, and welcome back to the Underworld, Upside Down, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back. If you clicked on the video, then you already know why you're here, and I know why you're here as well. So, I'm going to go watch episode 6 of Stranger Things Season 4, The Dive, and I'll get back to you. If you haven't seen my videos on the previous episodes, you can go watch them, but if there's no need, then you can stay here and wait a little bit, and I'll be back after I finish the episode. So, I'm going to go watch it, and I'll be back. I'll see you in a bit. Ended like that? Why did it end like that, of all things? Oh my god. Alright, we got a good amount to talk about. And I hope everyone's aware. This is a spoiler alert. This is spoilers for episode 6 in season 4 of Stranger Things. And pretty much probably everything before it, if I get too far into it. Regardless, it's spoilers. Go watch it for yourself and then come back. So, alright, spoiler warning is about to be gone. Everyone's out for spoilers, because this is another episode that you probably don't get spoiled for. Spoilers? Yeah, we good? We good? Alright, let's see where we start. Alright, let's go chronologically and talk about everything in order of the episode, and I'll try to throw my thoughts in as we go on. A lot of stuff happens, so I'm going to try to make this short, or at least like the other episodes, about half an hour, probably more for this one. A lot of stuff happens, so let's get into it. Like I said, in that last episode, Jason, the blonde basketball player, is traumatized. It starts off with his reaction to Patrick's death, which I was right. His name was Patrick. I got it right. Boom. How you feel about that? But his reaction, and we don't know where Eddie is until later in the episode. He's like already traumatized, even from Chrissy in the first episode, so it hasn't gotten any better. And now it's like search for him is even wider, because now Jason has the entire like city like searching for him and thinking he's some spawn of Satan or he's a vessel, which I also called that in last episode. My prediction was that Jason was gonna somehow twist it in a way where it was still Eddie's fault and he still blames it on Eddie, and that's exactly what happened. And now it's an even bigger search for Eddie than just a citywide search. It's like the whole state is looking for him, and these parents, I know everything, and now the cops are being involved, and I'm not even sure. And when I was watching that scene with the cops like riding around, anytime I thought about the cops, I thought of Until Dawn, and I think at the end of the series they might do an Until Dawn kind of thing. If you've ever seen Until Dawn, it's about like teenagers interacting with supernatural like experiences and supernatural things coming up. And then at the end of the series, it shows off who survives and who's died, and the survivors talk about their experiences to like government officials. And I think that would be a pretty solid ending whenever they conclude this, because I think they're doing a season 5 too, so we'll have to wait for like a season 5 to show up to actually get that actual ending. But for now, let's keep talking about this episode. We see more of Eleven in this like simulation sort of thing, where she's in this like water, which is always a thing when it comes to simulations and people having like headgear to go into the simulation. They're always in water. There's probably a reason for that, but that never crossed my mind. I never really thought about it until now. Why are they in water, kind of thing? Maybe they could just float there and rest and like concentrate on what's going on in their mind. I really don't know. I can guess a million things and still not know. But we actually do see more of Eleven in this like simulation sort of thing. And then I actually don't hate this blonde guy anymore that's in this simulation. But you gotta remember that these simulations are all from old footage and old experiences and Eleven's memories. So all this did happen before, and we're just learning about it now. And then it's something really interesting. They bring up number 1, which is pretty self-explanatory, unless you don't know. Number 11 is 11. They're all numbered because they're like experiments, and they're experimented on because these abilities and these like supernatural powers that they have. So we learned of number 1, which I don't think in past seasons, literally, I don't think in the entirety of the show, they talk about number 1. They don't even touch on much of the experiments at all, do they? Well, no, they touch on people last season that had powers or that had same experiences. Because I remember Eleven had this like, different outfit and she started hanging out with them. Again, my memory doesn't serve me that well for this show, but I do remember some things and most of the things that are important. So, but they talk about number one, which hasn't been done before. I don't think they actually mentioned number one ever. So this has to be important because not only did they mention number one and they talked about him, but 11 is realizing in this memory that the people aren't what they seem and they're not good people, and now she's kind of realizing that the entire thing is just an experimentation on her and other children, and she's also getting bullied in this, but she also learns how to use her powers since this is kind of a memory and she's reliving the memory to get her powers back. This is when she's actually powering her abilities up again. So it's cool to see that, and actually it's weirdly unusual. I'm glad we're seeing it, and it makes the story. And again, they mention number one, which has to be of some importance. I don't know how or what it would be, unless another character comes in with powers like 11 or something like that. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Maybe, hopefully next part. Hopefully next episode. I mean, not next part, but knowing them is probably going to be next part. And they're probably going to leave the next episode on a huge cliffhanger. I won't be surprised. But they talk about number one, and then the blonde guy that tells her about number one in the first place and tells her that the people and this place isn't what it seems, gets tased and beat up. He gets bruised pretty badly, and then he's taken away. And then the doctor or the papa is looking around, making sure no one's there and looking out, no one's watching. So obviously this shit is confidential. Whoever number one is was a big character, and they're important to this somehow, or important to at least 11's origins and her story. So I'm interested in seeing it, and I kind of want to talk about it more, but I'm not sure what else to say that I haven't already said. I'm not sure. I just hope we learn about it at least soon, because now that it's in a memory, of course she's probably going to look into it, because now that she saw the guy get beat up or whatever, she's obviously going to want to be interested in it, and she's curious. So we'll hopefully see it soon. And now let's see what's next. Oh yeah, Mike, Jonathan, and Will, and the stoner dude, which his name starts with an A. I'm not sure what it is. I don't remember. But I've been calling him stoner dude or stoner friend dude. So it's pretty fitting. So it's fine. But I forgot to mention this last episode. But they need to call this number, and they can't because it's calling a computer to find out where 11 is. So their first instinct from last episode was to go to Susie, the only hacker that they know, which is she's an actual extraordinary genius when it comes to technology, and basically all around just a really intelligent girl. But they end up in this episode going to Susie and actually going to her house, and her house is like a zoo. There's so much shit and so many kids in this one house. It's like a clown car, and it's insane. But they actually use it to their advantage, and they actually do end up meeting Susie. It's always good seeing her. But obviously, nothing with Susie is going to beat that one scene they had with her and Dustin singing last season, I think it was. So nothing's going to beat that. But it's also good to see her. And they actually met her in person, which is pretty cool. And she had a picture of Dustin, on her desk. But yeah, it was cool seeing her. And then she hacks into, the system using their computer. Well, I guess, she had this whole sob story about how she got in trouble for taking the computer and using it to change Dustin's grades that we saw earlier in the show, which again, everything connects somehow. Even, it could be the thing in the first episode comes out late or way later, just like this. It's a prime example. But she uses it to fix Dustin's grades, and then her dad takes her computer away. So then they had to sneak into her dad's room and have a plot with all the kids to distract her father the whole entire time while they're doing this. And it actually works. It really actually does end up working. And again, we just see Susie, and they actually meet her in person. I'm not sure why they lied about it. Well, actually, it's kind of really super top secret, classified stuff. So I definitely see why now that I'm thinking about it. But it happens, and then they are in Salt Lake City, in Utah, by the way, and it actually does work out for them in the end. So now they know where 11's at, and they are quickly aware that it's a secret base that 11's at. So, and we see what happened with 11. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of seeing that just because I'm so focused on the stuff happening with everyone else. But because I think we've seen a lot of 11 and the Rainbow Room and everything of her with her papa and whoever that was, and that whole group and that whole organization. But now in this, it actually is interesting because they bring up number one, and we see stuff that I don't think we've seen before, or at least I don't remember seeing it. And like the first thing we see in the show in the season is her in like a room with a bunch of like corpses and blood everywhere. And now she's actually learning and revisiting the memories and remembering again to get her powers back. So she's on a whole like journey by herself. And I would say she has help, but she's not. No one's really helping her. She's in it for herself the whole way. But maybe we'll see coming back to Mike, John, and Will and Stoner Dude. They could always go and help her. And like I was gonna say, I'm not sure where they're gonna take this, but we'll see. Because they could end up going with to her, but I'm not sure. We have one episode left after this to finish the part off, and then that's it. We gotta wait for part 2. So we'll see you next episode. And then back to the kids and Steve and Nancy and them, and my favorite duo of Dustin and Steve. I love them. But they end up meeting back with Eddie Munson after Patrick's death, which, by the way, has a heavy impact now. Not only does Jason, the blonde basketball player, make the whole city think that Eddie's like a devil and like a spawn of Satan, like a vessel sort of thing, but now they actually believe him, and he's even a bigger suspect than he already was before. But there are some valid points of the police not really looking for him. We see the basketball players looking for Eddie more than the police actually do. So, but it's not even Eddie, so I'm glad he's alright, and I'm glad he's still doing fine. But in this episode, they go back to him, and they meet up with him, and then they end up going around. But the whole time, in the scene of them trying to find Eddie, it's really interesting because Dustin and Steve are arguing over like which way they're going and which is the right way, because they're in this like really like secret spot for like their social circle and the school, I'm guessing, because it's like a makeout spot, and it's like a pop. Maybe not secret really. Yeah, actually, it's not secret whatsoever. The police know about it. Don't mind me being an idiot and developing short-term memory loss in under an hour. But Dustin and Steve are like talking about which direction they're going and which way is the right way. And Dustin was right, or actually, I'm not sure. They end up there anyways, and with Eddie. But Dustin realizes like real quick that they were going the right way, that he was saying, or that Dustin, whatever was happening. But his compass is like weird, and it's not pointing in the right direction. And thanks to their past experiences with like the upside down and these like supernatural shit going on and this strange stuff, he realizes that like the only thing that can interrupt like a compass is an electromagnetic field, which we're getting to some science shit here, which I like. It always is like a treat to see them actually use their like intelligence and like science kind of methods to work things out, which they always do, which I'm glad they touch on that a lot. Especially with Steve not knowing any of it. But they learn that, and then they know that that's caused from something from the upside down because of the past stuff. So it's cool. And then they end up going like towards it and following it, which leads to something that we'll talk about later. But it's pretty cool to see that. And I love it when they're actually clever. And again, smallest things mean and like come back as really big things and actually are really important. So nothing really goes like untouched in this show, which I'm glad. They actually have a reason for everything, and they actually make everything connected and make sense. Then after that, we revisit Murray and Joyce doing some good cop, bad cop. Dude, I didn't know I would be so invested in them, but I love seeing Joyce and Murray as a duo so much. I appreciate it so much more than I expected. But they're like talking to Yuri, whatever, and they need to get wherever they need to get to, find Hopper. So we're still in the process of them finding it and Hopper trying to get out of the gulag. But I just love that scene so much, and just seeing them together is so fun. I always enjoy it. From Murray actually kicking ass to now them having Yuri tied up. They actually make it to the town that Hopper was in, and then make it to the warehouse, which was like a church cathedral kind of building with the peanut butter. But then they actually get a scheme later in the episode where they're going to try to sneak into the gulag, full on just walk in, but they're going to have like a plan to actually get in and escape. So thanks to Mary for the quick thinking, and Joyce is just there, but I just had to say that. I love them so much. And then after that, we revisit Hopper again in the gulag and what he's dealing with. And this is a really cool scene, and I was really invested in this. Because, well, they had roars earlier on in the show, like when they're in the gulag, they have roars and like really loud, like it sounds like a monster kind of, like some creature roaring and groaning, like in the background. And they even like talk about it. But in this, Hopper and I think they said 6 prisoners in total, so I think 5 other prisoners are in this room, and it's like a really nice feast. It's like a Thanksgiving dinner kind of thing. Like they're having, I was gonna say the Last Supper, but it literally is their Last Supper because it's preparing them for death. And they're talking about how they need to get filled up and like how they need to eat and like get strong, and they need like a good meal to fight because they're about to get in a battle. Which they touch about and they talk on that about them fighting this monster that like some prisoners have already seen other prisoners fight and do the same thing that they're doing now. And it's really cool because he's talking about how there's this monster from another dimension and how like it's this like savage beast comes out every now like once and then in the blue moon when they need to like kill off prisoners, I guess, or for whatever. But as in Hopper's case, he knows about this already. And of course it's the Demogorgon. We don't see it in this episode, but I remember in the last season, I think it was, at the end of the very episode, at the very end of the episode, I meant to say, they have, in Russia, in like some sort of prison building, some gulag kind of thing, they have a Demogorgon. They actually do have one, and I forgot all about that. But when they're talking about this, and like having this conversation in this like feast room at the dining table, they talk on it, and I instantly remembered it. And I was like, holy shit. But then they're all talking about it and how this like creature from another dimension like has to fight against the prisoners, and the prisoners have to defend their lives, and they basically think that they have to eat to get strong. But Hopper over there is all silently, and he's basically given up. Hopper has given up, and he's like lost his will to live, they say. So he doesn't really care what happens. It doesn't matter to him. Nothing really matters. I think, of course, when Joyce and Mary get in, if they do get in, I think that he's going to, obviously have a change of plans. Or maybe when he's fighting Demogorgon, if that does come to fruition, then he's going to change his mind. But it's really cool because Hopper is just there, and obviously we've seen him deal with this shit in the past, and he scares the ever-living shit out of all these prisoners. Because he's had these past experiences, and he knows exactly what kind of creature this prisoner is talking about. And he goes into detail about how it's not for them to get strong. They're not eating to get strong and get, rejuvenated and get energy. They're feeding and they're eating to feed the monster, basically. And they're only eating to entertain this creature. Hopper scares the ever-living shit out of them. And it's such an ominous scene, but it's so damn cool, especially knowing that Hopper is just, badass that dealt with this shit, and he's scaring the ever-living shit out of everyone, including the guard. And also, the whole entire time this season has been going on for, every, prisoner says crazy American or something along them lines each episode, and I love it. It's I don't know if they meant to do, a running joke kind of thing with that, which each kind of Russian prisoner or guard saying that each episode, but I love it. And I love the relationship between him and the friendly guard. Antonio, I think his name was. I still forget. I don't know. But they had that scene, and he's just talking about it, and he's scaring the ever-living shit out of everyone. We know he's had this past experience, and we know what he's dealt with, and he knows what he's going to deal with. So I'm really interested in seeing that and how that goes down. But Hopper is just there and telling them. It's not for them to get strong and get healthy again and have a good meal. It's for them to get fat and get weight on them for the monster's hunger. So it's basically it really is their Last Supper. I was joking about it, but it literally is. It's for that. It's exactly for that. It's so they can eat, so they can go ahead and die and get eaten themselves, which is crazy. And just a really cool scene I have to talk about. And you can really see the fear in these people's eyes and their faces. Their hearts drop as he talks about it. And then we get more of Eddie Munson, the freak, being a full-on murderer, because Jason wanted to come out here, Jason being the blonde basketball player, wanted to come out here and talk all this shit about Eddie when Eddie didn't do nothing. When Jason literally watched his friend rise up and absolutely crush, while Eddie was watching it also. I mean, I guess it looks bad for both of them, I guess. But they know that Eddie is the prime suspect. So, And then it doesn't help when Jason comes out and tells all these parents and the Hawkins community, like the town, that Eddie is not only a suspect, but he's the spawn of Satan, like I said earlier. Like, he is not helping his case whatsoever. And now I think Jason is still going to be on the hunt for him, even worse now, and he's probably going to be pissed. I mean, he is pissed, but now he's going to be even more, like, vengeful towards Eddie than he already was before. But now that Chrissy's dead and now that his friend's dead. It really looks like someone's plotting on Jason. And honestly, I would not be surprised if in the next episode, or next part maybe, but I feel like the next part is going to be a much larger scale type of thing, and it's going to be like the conclusion. It's in 2 parts, so. But I wouldn't be surprised if the effects of Chrissy's death and Patrick's death give Jason, the blind basketball player, like these like negative emotions and like this depression and sadness that they've gotten, and that makes Vecna target him. They even mentioned that in this episode. I caught on this way earlier on in the show or in the season that Vecna probably targets people that have had like negative experiences and are dealing with shit, like different things that they're dealing with and going through depression and these like really bad things in their lives. They had to be dealing with something for Vecna to go after them. So I think that Jason's going to have to deal with this stuff and the aftermath and just like mentally dealing with Chrissy's death and now Patrick's death. And I think that opens up a chance for Vecna to go after Jason next. So I'm saying that right now. If it happens in the next episode, that's another thing I'm right on. Which I'm right on a lot of things so far, weirdly. And then a little later on, that's when we see 11 again with Papa, or whatever his name is. And it's just fucked up. Because now she's realizing that, like, while she's like revisiting these memories and reliving them herself, she knows what's happening and what has happened before that she couldn't remember again for some reason. And actually, her reason was that she's pushing it back, like, into the back of her mind. If you've ever seen Adventure Time, which I actually brought up last episode too, weirdly, because like Vecna's like world and how he like held the bodies in place reminded me of the deer episode. But I'm talking about Adventure Time again in this because, well, not only that I've been thinking about it a lot and on that because of like multiverses and stuff, but I just love Adventure Time. That's all. But also, this reminded me of the episode where they're in a murder mystery and they're in a mansion and Jake's pulling a prank on Finn, and at the end of the episode, Finn has like, he sees something, but then he like pushes it back into the mine. He calls it the vault, which I think every person has, and they try to store the deepest, darkest memories that they have and experiences in the back of their mind and forget about it. And that's what 11 did with all these like memories and these like experiences and moments in her life that she's had. That's exactly what she's doing now. And now she has to force herself to revisit these memories and like relive these like experiences to get her powers back, which it seems like it's working because she actually did strike the guards last episode at the end of it, and now we're seeing her like actually get a hold of her powers to begin with again. So it's pretty cool. And then of course there's other stuff that I mentioned already, like mentioning number 1 and the kids bullying her after she like uses her powers, and people just harass Eleven when she does not deserve it. Or maybe she does, again, like I said before, maybe because, you know, she actually does killing these kids. At least I think she does, because she relives this, like, experience again, and relives that moment again in this episode, and she, like, straight up says, like, oh, I killed those kids, didn't I, Papa? Or whatever she said, and, like, she's, like, living a nightmare, like, reliving it to the extreme, and just reliving it because she has to regain these powers. So she's learning a lot again and learning a lot about herself. So she's dealing with a lot of conflict. Eleven's always in some deep shit. She does not deserve it, unless again she does, and we'll see. Not sure. And then Hopper comes back up with Antonio, I think his name is, the friendly guard that is in prison now, in the gulag with him. Like, you know, not working at the gulag anymore, but he's in the cell with him. Hopper like did some shit, and now he actually had the chance to steal a lighter off of someone, and he actually is going to use it probably next episode against this Demogorgon that they're going to face. Which, by the way, the next episode is 1 hour and 38 minutes, which is damn long. Part 2 is really like even longer. It's really damn long, but of course I'm going to watch it anyways. They're like full on movie lengths. But he steals a lighter and matches, I think it was, and well, because, you know, he knows that the Demogorgon has a weakness, and that's fire. So of course he made the most out of his time, and so the lighter and matches or whatever he has under his belt. And he calls him a crazy American again because, well, that's what Hopper is. But we'll see how it plans out. And again, this isn't that much. It's not that deep this time, but everything connects no matter what happens. Like this happened earlier on, and he brings it up again, and he has lighter for this exact thing. It's not as big as other things because like some things happen in episode 1 and come back up now, or like next episode or something like that. But this is happening in this episode, I'm pretty sure. But just wanted to point it out. And that being said, I think that is most of everything besides the ending, which we're getting into now. The moment we've all been waiting for. I don't know where to start. Well, we know that Dustin and everyone followed the compass and followed like the electromagnetic field and where it went wild and where the compass would go wild the most to find out this like entrance from the upside down. It turns out it's at the bottom of the lake, which we already knew kind of because last episode when Patrick got killed, we saw that the upside down like black moldy like tentacle things come up and pull him down into the water, which I didn't know what it was at first, but then it showed it later on. So we were like, as a viewer standpoint, we already knew there was something in the water, but now we know what it actually is. It's more than just tentacles; it's the actual portal and like the gateway between the real world and the upside down. It's like the gateway between dimensions, sort of thing. So it's there, and then they separate and whatnot. But Dustin, Lucas, and Max all get like caught by the cops, as we've seen in the episode. But Robin, Nancy, Steve, and Eddie all go to the boat and go to like follow the compass and see what this thing is. Jesus, voice crack. All right. Well, as I was saying before, I was interrupted by my own self. Sorry. They're there, and then out of nowhere, like obviously they need to check it out, but I didn't think we were gonna actually see them like dive straight down to the bottom of the lake. I thought it'd be a lot deeper, but like, apparently everyone has great like lung capacity, like the Jason Voorhees or something. But it works, and I guess it's not really that deep because they swim down there pretty fast, or at least Steven does. We see Nancy, Robin, and Eddie all jump off, and which I thought Eddie was gonna be left by himself, and he wasn't gonna go down there out of like fear or something. But he actually does go down there, so they don't have a chance of seeing him in the water, like on the boat by himself. So we don't have to worry about that. But he does go down, and they all follow Steve down. And Steve goes down, he sees it, comes back up, but then it is stopped because the tentacles pull him down. And oh my God, when I tell you I shit myself saying this, because again, Steve is one of my favorite characters, and Steve is probably the last character I want to see anything done to, or maybe not, because some people seem really innocent. But just Steve is like one of my favorites, and my God, but before this happens, I'm gonna say this again. They touch even more on that aspect and connection of Steve and Nancy. Like they're bound. Like at this point, they're bound to be together again. All that stuff with Nancy and Jonathan going on, and Steve still not knowing where his like love aligns and what he wants to do, like love interest wise. They obviously still have feelings for each other, and I've been saying this, and they're actually touching on it, and they're actually getting more deep into it. So I wanted to see it together again. I want to see them come back together and just have it happen. No bat still for Steve. That's fine though. But he does use an oar because once he's pulled down back into the water into like the gateway, the portal into the upside down, he actually gets pulled into it. And then I'm not sure if this is the only time. I'm probably wrong, but because I think we've had other characters in the upside down. I know for a fact Will was, because that was like the whole point of the first season. But I'm not sure if anyone else was. I'm not remembering right. But now Steve's full on in this upside down. He's like fully on in the other dimension. And then we see everyone dive it down towards him. And then Steve like is like trying to look around, trying to get back. And then these like bat creatures, which are really cool, like little creatures by the way. I love bats a lot, like one of my favorite animals. But they're not really bats. There's like these like upside down creature sort of things. Not Demogorgon. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. Like them like winged creatures sort of things. And these said when creatures catch up with Steven while he's trying to fight them off. Again, like I said, not with a bat, but that's alright. He's fighting off with like a paddle, like an oar from a nearby boat and upside down, and he's trying to fight them off. And he cannot fight them off for shit. Like they're kicking his ass. They're like flying all around him and fighting him and stinging him, or not stinging him, but like they wrap like their tail around them and they keep biting him and clawing at him and shit. And he's getting fucked up. Like these shit are messing him up. And then the episode just ends with Steve getting messed up by these things, and no one can save him. He's getting strangled, and he's getting bit and clawed at, literally all of his flesh, in like for a good minute, and then the episode just comes to an end. And my God, if something, oh my God, I won't be surprised if this episode, the next episode, someone does die, which I hope not. But even if someone doesn't die, which I think that's more likely to happen. I don't think anyone's really gonna die, but I do think it's probably gonna leave off on a cliffhanger, because there's 2 parts and there has to be, and the next part is probably gonna end off on a cliffhanger too, because there's a season 5 coming out, which I didn't even know of until I was like midway through this season. But oh my God, please Steve, just tell me you're alright. I need my boy Steve Harrington to be okay. I needed him to be good. I needed him to be fine. Please tell me he's alright. I don't know, but I'm about to watch the finale, and then I'm gonna make a video on it. So, if you're seeing this, this won't be out, or this next episode video won't be out yet. But you're watching here, and you're watching this still. So I'm gonna go watch that and make a video on it. And for this video, I talked about pretty much everything. Like I said, I think I've shed light on everything I wanted to talk about, and everything I wanted to shed light on, and pretty much everything. So, I've talked about pretty much everything, like I said, and I think what's going to happen in the next episode might happen. Again, I've been weirdly right about a lot of things, but we're about to watch the next episode. So, hopefully it goes right, and that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I'm about to watch the next episode, and hopefully things go right, but I don't think it's going to, but we'll see. I got a good trip, a good, hour, and, half an hour worth of stuff. So, I'll get back to you after that, and that will be in another video. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. And just anyways, in general, subscribe, like, comment, etc., etc. The usual YouTube stuff you hear everywhere else on YouTube. Thank you again, and thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it greatly. But this has been Ghosty, and I bid you all farewell.